The views and opinions expressed on the Loud Minorities Podcast are ours alone and do not reflect those of any other entity or individual. So, if you love what we say, great. If not, take it up with your mama. Comment below, or just start your own podcast. So anyways, let's get to yapping. Yo, welcome everybody. This is Debray. We are the Loud Minorities Podcast, where we discuss the latest developments in culture, sports, and politics with some loud, progressive minorities. My name is Debray. I'll pass it over to Uriel.
What's up, y'all? It's Uriel.
What's up, y'all? I'm Chadwick.
All right. Well, hey, Kenny's not with us. Rest in peace, or really rest in vacation. We'll have him back next week, folks. But it's just the three of us, three musketeers this time. So, Chadwick, you can go ahead and kick us off.
Happy to, and kicking us off with the greatest departure of all time. Diddy's lawyer has resigned. Wasn't really expecting it because all things considered, one thing that's going to clear with Diddy is the check. So I guess, I got to ask y'all, is Diddy do it? Because this happened please, lawyers and chat, help me out with this. What was it, like after discovery or something? He got more information about the case than quit?
Yeah, so it's interesting. In these kinds of proceedings, there's like mandatory withdrawals. So like if you get fired, you can't fucking obviously represent your client. And then there's voluntary withdrawals. So this attorney, Rico, he, through the representation of Sean Combs, he basically said under no circumstances can I continue to effectively serve as his counsel. So this is wild because, we've been knowing since last year that Diddy was charged with racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, the whole slew of charges, right? And he was like, you know what? I'm good. Mind you, there's also like a whole team of other lawyers. So he submitted a petition to the court saying, hey, can I leave? Like me personally, I can't tell you why, because attorney-client privilege, but personally, can I leave? And it's just crazy, man. He represented Osama bin Laden, but Diddy's where he draws the line. That's wild.
He has morals. He's like, I can go back in time and see, like, this person does deserve the right to a lawyer. And that there's a historical context of the United States involvement in Iraq and in the Middle East that kind of caused the situation that birthed Osama bin Laden, who was trained by the U.S. military. So there's a reasonable be like, okay, he did terrible things. None of this is acceptable. But like from a human standpoint, you can be like, okay, Diddy, like he saw the baby oil and just said, I got to get out of here. Because imagine because he had to talk to Diddy and be like, all right, man. So just give me the background. Like just give me the insight here. And then he probably just like, I don't know. He didn't feel safe in the room with him. That's probably what happened.
The one that I was hearing that it might have been with the defense strategy. Apparently his defense team, or at least some of his defense team, is trying to petition or argue that for the sex trafficking charges that Diddy is facing, that it wasn't sex trafficking. He used a website to hire people. So because they were hired or just compensated for dates or just to attend parties, anything they did as adults is completely permissible. It has nothing to do with sex trafficking or things like that, because the site is public and other people have used it for bringing entertainment to their venues. Bold defense. Apparently that was one of the angles that his defense attorney had issues with that led to his resignation of, hey, man, we saw the Cassie video. We also have a lot of the other investigations and rumors of more information coming out soon. Maybe let's not run with that defense. But hey, end of the day, he's the one writing the check, so that's the defense he wants to go with.
Yeah,
I'm not wishing him best of luck.
I mean, he's not beating the federal charge of illegal possession of baby oil. Like that's just there's no defense of that. 1,000 bottles. Costco literally had to make a statement saying we don't even sell baby oil.
That lawyer was crazy.
The biggest wholesale store in the country had to come out and say, "Hey, bro, we don't even sell that. Don't bring us into this shit." Shout out to Costco. Sport D.
Man, shout out to Costco.
They were like, don't bring us into this nonsense.
They had to fight toxic media. That lawyer just hopping up on the stage, just saying anything like, "Oh, he just need to stock up on baby oil." And that's the thing, that media toxicity happens in music and in sports, man. Like, not anywhere near the same. Chat, not anywhere near the same. But Stephen A. Smith was wilding. Why he out here talking bad about Bronny? It's led to what, LeBron pulling up in the middle of the Knicks game to tell him like, "Yo, what was the quote? Leave my son out of it." Debray, what's your thoughts
Yeah.
on that?
I mean, Stephen A. Smith is the most irritating sports commentator. I think Skip Bayless retired, and I think he had to it's like the Avatar. Like you got to fill the gap of the most annoying hater in sports, and Stephen A. Smith has definitely stepped into that. Because it's a thing. Because it was about the comments that Stephen A. Smith made, where he said on national television to millions and millions of viewers, as a father, I'm pleading to you to fix this, to get him out, to basically to remove him from the NBA. For Steve, and then it's funny because Stephen A is like an Olympic champion and missing the point at every single opportunity and always managing to make himself the victim. Like it's truly legendary work. Like he literally this we're going to talk about this in a little bit too, but this same thing of he's saying it was never personal. Everything I said was facts. I'm like, brother, you open up your soliloquy. I can use big words too, Stephen A. You open up your soliloquy by trying to tell him as a father that he's making a mistake, that he's doing wrong by his son, by having him play in the NBA. And then what's funny is that he tried to say, I'm trying to be even, neutral, all those things. We don't hear a word about Bronny James averaging 22 points, 5.5 and 5.5 rebounds and assists in the G League. We hear nothing about that. But but every time he comes to the NBA up for a game and he gets some garbage time minutes and really isn't able to get any rhythm or anything like that, but he doesn't play great, he's the worst thing ever. Stephen A. Smith got something to say right there. Why is it only popular when he's not performing well? Why can't we talk about him? The fact that he dropped 30 and 8 and 8, damn near a 30-point triple double in the G League a few weeks ago. But again, I guess that's not news. But you're fair, quote unquote. Just say you're chasing headlines. Don't lie. You don't got to lie to kick it. Uriel, I'll punt over to you.
I think you're hitting it right on the head, man. It's the hot take economy, right? And we see this not just in sports. We see this with Teflon Don in politics as well, right? Like, it don't matter how audacious your take is. It don't matter if you shot 1 for 82. But if you just keep spamming the airways with, rage bait, things that are false and things that, quite frankly, are just going to get attention. And, in this case, I feel for Bron, he's looking after, as a father, he's looking after his son, regardless of what people say, sure, your dad is the GOAT, he has connections in the NBA, you're a late round, second round late pick, most of those players don't pan out anyways. You're working against the odds, you're doing the best you can, and those are quite unfounded takes from Stephen A.
No, look at the stats of everyone that got drafted after him. Look at the stats. If you go he's averaging more than double the points of every single player drafted after him. He has I haven't looked at this, but I bet you he's doing pretty good of any of the players that got drafted if they're playing in their G League right now. He's doing pretty damn good. So it's a thing. And also we have to go back. It was always revisionist history because he was ranked 53rd in that draft. It was a weaker quote unquote draft class this past year. He was ranked 53rd based on what he did at the combine. He went 12 for 12 from the 3-point line during the drills. He showed elite athleticism. He showed his ability to play defense and to be able to shoot the ball. He's been doing that in the G League. So it's a thing of and this is also into the point of toxic media of the same point that LeBron was making that all the media does is shit on players. You literally only shit on Bronny when he's not playing well. You do it with stars. You do it with the NBA. You do it with the NFL. You don't care about the game. You just want to get clicks. So same thing when it comes to the NFL draft.
Yeah, we've been seeing with the NFL draft. They're notorious with being a little creative with their language. We'll hear about how people are sneakily athletic, surprisingly intelligent.
Lunch pail guys,
the type of men who have fathers at home. They're really
once you date your daughter, once you let date your
really
daughter.
creative with how they discuss players. And one of the ones that they've had challenges discussing is the possible number 1 pick Shedeur Sanders. When we talk about father and son putting someone on, we got to shout out to Dion to prime time because man as a star brought that star power over to Colorado, and we might just see Colorado get a number 1 pick in this year's draft. But the one that is drawing a lot of attention is Shedeur Sanders. And personally, I think a lot of it is that NFL media doesn't know what to do when you have a black quarterback that already has money and a family life. They can't go for the struggle angle. They can't go for the IQ angle. They can't go for he needs training angle because his dad gave him access to the trainers that he needs, so on and so forth. And now you're getting, what is it, out the combine talking about, oh, he won't throw, he won't do this. We don't like how he interviews. What don't you like about it? He didn't interview with your team that doesn't have an O-line? Crazy. But enough about that. Debray, I already know we were talking about this before we started recording. What did you want to finish up on?
Like it is mind-boggling, but it's also unsurprising. There's always one black quarterback that they hate. Like if there's multiple black quarterbacks, there's always one that has now. They create narratives about character flaws. They're a last in, first out type guy with no basis, no nothing. It's just the color of their skin. They're not smart because they're a first read quarterback. That means they can't get from 1 to 2 to 3 or back and then back to 1 by reading the defense. Or it's, hey, they can't read the field. They're slow. They don't have good footwork. They create things. Literally none of that's true about Shedeur. He can get from 1 to 2 to 3. He can read a defense. He can operate an offense. He can do decent managing pressure. He's been really, really good at it because he's had to do it basically every step of his college career. And it just doesn't make sense. There's people talking about it strictly because of like the fact that he's brash. He's confident, but it's only brash when it's a black quarterback. When Baker Mayfield was insufferable, when he had a DUI in college and was getting arrested, and when he was putting flags down on opponent teams when he was over at Oklahoma, but he still went number 1 overall, and he was still a limited prospect. He was a really good football player. I think he's a better prospect than probably Shedeur is, but he was also short. He also didn't have some amazing arm. He also didn't do great under pressure, and that's
had serious character concerns.
Serious character, like he got arrested and got a DUI in college, I believe. It may not have been a DUI, but he did get arrested because he was drunk, or it was disorderly conduct. He was drunk and disorderly in the public, and he got arrested. Being a quarterback in Oklahoma, being the quarterback of one of the biggest schools in that state, or the biggest school in that state, we don't hear anywhere near as much about him that we heard in that draft cycle that we hear about Shedeur.
Shedeur wears a chain and earrings.
And a watch.
Think about the message that sends to people. If they see him swagged out, they might think that they can get some swag too. You can't have that.
They might be the second coming of AI, with the NBA. It's like, what are we doing here? But I think my real question is, so Dubray, are you taking Sanders number 1?
I personally, this is again, it's with the draft.
For reference, Tennessee Titans have the first pick. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so Tennessee Titans. For me, it depends on the team. I think the Titans have a lot. They need to build the house a little bit more. That's my personal opinion. I would try to go after one of these veteran guys on like a prove-it deal. I personally like both of the quarterbacks at the top of this class. I probably would take Cam Ward, but I would only do it if I have a veteran for him to sit behind because he has like terrorist tendencies in the best way possible of like where he will go crazy.
What do you mean?
He will go for your throat on the football field. He'll go for some crazy, ridiculous throw. So in sports context, I say terrorists because they break the rules and conventions of the game, right? They do
so he's
things
like
that
not
something like that, or like Patrick Mahomes. He's not Patrick Mahomes, but he's a la Big Ben Roethlisberger. Big Ben would just do some crazy shit on the field, and it would work out. Like he was the no. Oh yes. That's literally how Cam Ward plays. He has a lot of things that he's really good at, and I'd probably take him first. But for the Titans, I would just draft a better player, like a blue chip player, and build more players. You're a Titans fan, so I'll let you talk, Chad.
Yeah, for me, I'm saying we trade down to like the second pick if we can, because Browns are desperate. In my mind, they would want to guarantee they can get a Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. They have no reason not to.
Yeah.
Because they have the second round pick. So it's like, do you want Cam Ward? Do you want Shedeur Sanders? We trade down. I'm saying we go for I'm saying we trade down to either to the Browns of New York to second or third, and then draft either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. I think that Titans, in my experience, we have never really developed quarterbacks well. I can't think of the last quarterback we had that we developed. Our best quarterback the last few years was Tannehill, and the Miami Dolphins developed him. and the ones we had with Mariota, with Willis didn't do it in our team. Like we just don't really have a good history of developing quarterbacks, and we have no line. We have all these other issues. I say, screw it. Let's go for somebody who can really just either do it themselves. I am really enticed by Travis Hunter being able to play both ways. That means whether or not we have a good quarterback or not, we can keep on beefing up our defense with Travis Hunter. And if he works as a receiver, we have a receiver to help us when we eventually get a quarterback prospect that wows us. Also, what's the point of getting a quarterback if we're not going to redshirt them? So far, a lot of the quarterbacks outside of the outliers like McDaniels had redshirt years behind a veteran quarterback that we just don't have. So what's the point of doing this?
I mean, Perk Rogers is available.
He can say exactly where he is.
I mean, he'll be good if you're chat. He'll be good if you're trying to get number 1 pick next year too. That'll be great.
I already know.
5 pick,
you gotta play the long game, man.
I already saw.
Build the house. Get a Travis Hunter. Your secondary was terrible last year. It was really your run defense is fantastic. You have a lot of really good guys up front. You're also they're probably going to go Abdul Carter because they just released Harold Landry, who has been their number 1 edge for a few years. He had a really good year before he got that big contract because he was a lot of like schemed up pressures and sacks and that type of stuff. But you need another edge. Abdul Carter also is a little hurt, so I wonder if that's something
worried about that.
Double.
I think
I'm not either
about the optics.
Yeah, I think they trade down to 3. I think they trade down to 3. I think they draft Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, whoever's there, and then they fix the other slot in the second round. I think that's their goal. Like they're going to address defense in both of the first 2 rounds because their offensive line isn't completely terrible. It needs a lot of fixing. It has some rookies on there last year. I say we
go all defense, man. Fucking get Travis Hunter. If we have to get Aaron Rodgers and just tank 1 more year, and then on second get either another corner or another safety. There's a lot of like defensive talent in the second round, so I'm like, we get another corner, another safety. We already have an okay defense. Just load up the defense now, and
the defensive back end needs help,
and just worry about offense next year.
You also need O-line, so I would say like literally defense, O-line. If there's a good
COVID year, our team did really well with drafting O-line. I do believe that we are good enough at drafting O-line and finding free agents and waivers when it comes to O-linemen. We've done that very well for the last few years, so I hope it keeps on going.
Because this is a catch-22. Like, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying my team got so much stuff to fix, man.
I mean, like this is
y'all have deficits everywhere. Just go for
this is a weird year for free agency because like the offensive line free agency class is actually pretty decent, but the defensive linemen and secondary classes aren't amazing. So you're probably going to want to focus on like getting O-line and I know like Peter Scaronzi from last year got moved him to tackle or moved him from tackle to guard. He's doing.
Have nobody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was just too small to play tackle in the NFL. His hands were too big. But I know we can get to the next topic. Titans suck. They'll figure it out eventually.
We better figure it out, man. I went from being solid. We got a Hall of Fame running back to whatever we got now, man. But hey,
the ass for Arch.
We're gonna do it. But moving on to things that are just way more easy to figure out, American politics. And on that, there's a new recent bill, AB 246, that we would like to discuss. It's a bill addressing, rent increasing? I want to say it's about controlling or limiting rent hikes, or are we just saying F it and send rent straight to the moon?
Yeah, so AB 246 by Assembly Member Brian is a targeted proposal for LA County. As we talked about a few episodes back, LA has, been devastated by wildfires. So, Palisades, in general, over 11,000 housing units have been eliminated, like just burned to the ground, gone. So like the family devastations, especially in like Black communities, have been, astronomical, right? So all those people have to live somewhere. And a lot of folks have to get short-term rentals or just like, rentals, period, right? So as a stopgap measure for that, some legislators have been pushing to just have a pause on rent increases if the unit existed at the beginning of the year, right? So this is supposed to be like an anti-price gouging proposal. And I think it's it's common sense and it's fantastic. It's a 2/3 bill. So it's going to need 2/3 of the legislature, and it's an emergency measure. It's just for the next year and just in LA County, just because of this unprecedented disaster. And I don't know. What do y'all think? Do you think this is gonna pass? Like, is this enough?
I mean, well, a lot of people lost their livelihoods, homes, sadly, their lives. It's of course not enough, but it's absolutely in the right direction. I don't think there's much of a reason to. Of course, I would need to have to hear all sides as always, do the full research. But just initially, from what I'm seeing, it's hard to be against it. Why would I be against freezing rent while people are trying to rebuild? There's 11,000 units burned down. Why are we raising prices? People are going to have to spend all their money rebuilding their lives. Pausing rent increases for a period of time to give people some time, especially with how expensive goods are right now, to try to recover is just common sense. Feel like it's kind of hard pressed to be against it because it's not saying that you're not going to get your money, you're not going to get your rent. We already know in the back end, a lot of these contractors and buildings are going to be compensated to rebuild, at least from my expectation as part of these emergency measures. So why not help the people first? And we will, of course, get to the builders and contractors to make sure that we can rebuild LA.
I hear you, Chadwick, on that front. I agree. I wonder, Dubray, like, what's up? What about the poor landlords?
You think I'm about to sit here and support landlords? My brother, you know me. Oh man, it should be indefinite, but that's just me. I think it's just this whole conversation, because we have to. I remember in the direct aftermath, when the fires were still burning, where landlords were literally going and appealing to the city to be able to say, like, hey, can we go beyond what is currently allowed? They weren't asking to say, hey, can we increase rents at the rate that is currently allowed? They were literally going and saying, can you give us emergency authority to price gouge people that are trying to find places to live? That's what the request was. So it's just fundamentally exploitative. The notion of having people being able to make a living off of being a landlord is just bonkers to me, especially at a time like this. And this is just exacerbating the issue, right? I mean, we probably need a rent freeze across the state of California, because housing just is completely unaffordable for the average family. That's just my personal thing. This is obviously, I think it's an example of, like, we react for the most part appropriately when we have disasters, but we refuse to use things that we know help everyday people and working class people on a macro scale that we know will improve the quality of life for families. This is a good bill. Obviously, it has a specific purpose, and I think that it should move forward and get through. But I think it's just, again, we end up in these situations where we have the right answer, at least in some way, to resolve one part of the problem, and we just only do it for the disasters and not for the actual rest of everybody's existence.
Yeah, facts, Dubray. I remember during the pandemic, like, we expanded the child tax credit. That was instrumental in having, like, significant reductions in childhood poverty, right? We had the solution. We cut it in half, literally. And we reverted that back. We had the solution on the table, reverted it back. This is instrumental for the recovery of Los Angeles. I think, personally, maybe a hot take, I think you shouldn't have your rent increase unless there's like a material improvement on the building. Like, in my apartment complex, like, we lose like hot water every other week. The elevator's constantly down, and they're still up in the rent. And it's my biggest expense every month. And I know millions of Californians are struggling with this. Like, rent's the biggest expense for folks.
And that improvement cannot be just getting the property to be in accordance with state or federal law. That doesn't justify you raising the rent. If you're trying to get to the bare minimum, you should be doing that. You should be paying for that already. It should already happen. You don't get to raise rent for stuff like that, or you shouldn't be able to, in my opinion.
Yeah, man, all that rent movement, all that price gouging stuff, it's just some crazy budget management, man. I don't know. To me, it sounds like a whole bunch of pocket watching, and it reminds me of the top tier pocket watcher of the world, Elon, and what is it, the Doge, DOGE, Department of Governmental Efficiency is the name they have chosen for themselves. Being caught again, giving themselves contracts, slashing funds that don't exist inaccurately, and apparently getting into legal trouble about whether or not he's even allowed to lead this department that is also not a department. As a resident lawyer, Uriel, you got to break this down for us.
Not a lawyer yet. I'm going to graduate in 2 months, and then I'll take the bar. But yeah, there are significant issues and considerations with this because Elon never got confirmed. Like there are positions that are required in the government when you are high level cabinet officials to have confirmation. Like there's significant doctrine behind that, case law, and this guy's first of all, he never ran. He's not a U.S. citizen. He never got confirmed. Yet this guy's running amok. Like he's, I don't know if y'all saw this, but like he literally interjected. Verizon was going to get like a big contract with the aviation folks, and he just swept right in and is shoehorning his own company, Starlink, with a $2.4 billion contract. In the name of efficiency. This guy full of horseshit.
The only efficiency is increasing his own wealth. I mean, the dude literally he refuses to sit before Congress because he's too busy finding a new ketamine dealer to actually talk to anybody about any of the stuff he's doing. And he's now also trying to slowly like step back in terms of taking credit for all of the cuts. So it's like because the cuts were a lie. They can't count. They can't do math. They can't read. They can't do anything well. So now it's like this catch-22 of like he's trying to take credit for all this efficiency when all he's doing really is enriching himself. It should be like the Department of Government enriching Elon. So Doge with 2 E's. But like I hate he's the worst. It's like then it's really, really funny watching Trump try to handle this nonsense because he doesn't know how to govern, and neither does any of his cabinet members. They don't know how to do their jobs. So there's an internal meeting they had, like where he was basically telling all the department heads, "Hey, it's your department. You do what you want." Because he's like, I don't know actually what any of those departments do. I don't know how anything works. I'm just gonna say racist stuff and lie to people. I mean, like it's just genuinely like mind-boggling how somehow 76 million people voted for this guy. But hey,
man, he's like Stephen A. Like we're talking about. It's Stephen A. for all his hot takes and blasphemous statements. He's the most watched sports commentator in the country. He gets airways, he gets attention. He knows how to make all of these into like punchy one-liners. The best ever, drain the swamp, build that wall. When in substance, there's nothing behind it. So I don't know. It's just the weird times we're living in, man. Transgender mice, they can't read either. It's supposed to be genetic, for cancer research, but neither here nor there.
Yeah, it is definitely neither here nor there. But the worrying part is there is sometimes substance behind it. It's not substance we want, not substance we support. With the example of Elon's micromanaging, one of the big things that Trump did in his first, say, couple of weeks of office was change the reporting standards for gifts and contracting. So that's how Elon can give himself a $2.4 billion contract to himself, even though SpaceX is having their rockets blow up over entire countries, sending debris into the ocean and leaving them to have to deal with the cleanup. So you're able to do all that when you got somebody who's out there screaming build the wall while cutting off anything around donations and reporting and speeding everything through, hoping they can get as much to stick as possible before things come up with judges. As some of y'all may have heard that the Bar Association's been very aggressively informing people that if they lie to federal judges, they could be disbarred, which is a crazy memo to have to send out to legal experts. Like, hey, don't lie under oath to the judge, to remind them that. But this is the world we live in today. It's a world where truth is something a little bit more subjective when you see dollar signs.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I guess I was going to ask both of y'all, what do y'all think the opposition should be doing, if anything? Is there anything we can do? So far, when I tuned to State of the Union, I saw a lot of signs being held up, which, I mean, I guess I wasn't...
Bold strategy, Cotton. See how
I
it
didn't
works
think
out
about
for
that, but yeah, they held up signs. Some people wore some colors saying things like "this is not normal," or doing a lie counter. And I mean, I guess that's something,
Well, yeah. I mean, I gotta give
literally we're just doing this. Like, really? Yep. That's your resistance? Come on, man. You gotta be doing better. You're saying that in the face of fascism, all you gonna do is pull a Wile E. Coyote? Come on, man. That's a little kid response. We need leadership at this point. Like, sorry to cut you off, Jibre. But yeah, this just gets me heated. The lack of substance, the lack of cohesive strategy. I think the only one that I've seen, quite frankly, actually having a concrete and substantive response is Bernie Sanders.
And what exactly was that response? Because I am not a big fan of the signs personally, but at the same time and same energy, you got to have alternatives. You got to have, I can't just sit here and say like, oh, that's not enough and twiddle my thumbs. So like, what did Bernie Sanders do?
Yeah, so he's been doing like multiple things, right? So like day of the State of the Union address / joint address that Trump did, he literally went point by point saying like, hey, you talk about inflation, you're not actually addressing the biggest costs for working class families that are working paycheck to paycheck, talking about housing, healthcare. And he was spelling out all the different proposals with this counter speech that he had immediately after. I mean, he literally was like, hold my beer, I got this. Like, instead of rambling for an hour and a half, he did a 20-point, very direct and succinct policy-based response. And moreover, he's been doing an oligarchy tour. Like, he went, I think, to Kenosha like this week, and he had like a sold out rally, like, you know, out in the Midwest. And he's telling them like, hey, bro, they're selling you a raw deal. And you know, I'm not seeing that from other folks in the debt side. I don't know. What are y'all seeing?
I mean, I think it's there are different ways to resist, right? Like obviously Bernie wasn't there because it was before the House. So, but I think like you got to give a shout out to like Rep. Al Green. Like he literally like made it a point to say like, in this moment, I will not go out. I will be willing to die on this hill of like, you don't have a mandate to cut Medicaid. You don't have a mandate to go after the social safety net. That's not what people voted you for. They voted you in because you said you were going to decrease the price of groceries, which you literally didn't even. That lie didn't even make it into office. You were saying that's going to be hard before you even got sworn in, before the inauguration day. You already kind of thrown that out the window. So you literally, the thing you were selling people, the lying about like going after the addressing or getting rid of immigrants, which doesn't actually work, by the way, would fix the economy and would fix the housing market. All these lies you came up with, all the things that you fear mongered and blamed Black, brown, LGBTQ plus people and immigrants and undocumented folks, all of the things you blamed, all of the big issues that people really care about that you blamed minorities and underserved groups on, you've done nothing to address a single one of those things. So that's the resistance, right? It's not just sitting there with signs that like you look ridiculous. I mean, like I wonder where Hakeem Jeffrey is. I mean, he's probably too busy hating on the left, saying the left is the reason we lost the election. The left is the reason we don't get any votes. Like instead of actually coming up with things sort of real strategy for how to fight back against a fascist dictator, fascist old racist white man who's trying to be a dictator. Instead of fighting against that, you're fighting against the people that are the reason you didn't win the election. But I mean, that's just the Democratic minority leader or Democratic Party leader in the House. And also, it's even worse because on a day, the day after the state of the address, right? They voted to censure out Rep. Al Green.
They did.
Eight Democrats voted with the Republicans to support censoring their own member.
I saw it went up to 10. Yeah.
Oh, it went up to 10? Well, the list I had was Ami Bera, CA0, the 6th Congressional District, Ed Case, 2nd Congressional District in, I'm forgetting this state, Jim Costa, the 21st Congressional District in California, Laura Gillen, New York, 4th Congressional District, Jim Himes, Connecticut, 4th Congressional District, Chrissy Houlihan, I don't know how to say his name, Pennsylvania, 6th Congressional District, Marcy Capator, Ohio, 9th Congressional District, Jared Masokowitz for Florida, 23rd Congressional District, Marie Glunswamp Perez, I said that terribly, I don't care, I hate her, Washington, 3rd Congressional District, and then Tom Suzy, New York, 3rd Congressional District. These are Democrats that voted with the Republican Party to punish Al Green for being willing to stand up to a liar and a just demagogue and Donald Trump. They literally said, "I'm going to vote with fascism." And in time, the story should have been Donald Trump got up and lied to the American people again. He lied. He spread hate. He made up things that aren't true. He hid from his failures to actually address real issues that people care about. But instead, the story is that the Democrats can't even be on point for one single thing. The line from the leadership in the Democratic Party in the House was that they let members vote their conscience. So that means the party has no conscience. If you have a significant amount of your members voting to censure one of their own for being willing to stand up for what is right, that's the Democratic Party. Hakeem Jeffries he's great to fight the left, but actually fighting fascism, nowhere to be seen.
It's because it's just not a unified resistance. I think of someone, because we brought up earlier about a different modes and models of resistance. One, I would give credit to Jasmine Crockett for Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett for like, why are we holding up a bunch of these niceties and little things like that, and not just saying like, oh, just in the middle, like, oh, they're lying, like the niceties of waiting for the perfect time and things like that. It's like, yeah, she's making a great point. That is a version of resistance. Like, why are we upholding norms and niceties with a side that is not going to engage in an actual conversation? Because not many of them are reaching across the aisles. Like, it's making headlines that AOC or Bernie or other like moderate Dems or even more left-leaning Dems can get a Republican to work with them on a bill makes headlines now, which ideally wouldn't be happening. So if that is the situation, why does one side keep them niceties? I give her credit for that, just being like, yeah, screw it. If this is what it is, then this is what it is.
To think that we live in a world where bipartisanship gets us anywhere is truly beyond me. There are no moderate
bipartisanship has gotten us stuff. It got us the gutting of due process for immigrants with the Lake and Riley Act. We had so many Democrats cross over for that. We have bipartisanship on working with billionaires to stack the economy. We have Hakeem Jeffries literally saying, I am not going to target billionaires. I'm just going to go talk to the good billionaires. So when I hear all of these things, there is bipartisanship in there. The problem is it doesn't disagree on the substance. The problem is that the agreement isn't about actually helping the working class. And I don't know what we do to fix that.
Substance is the dollar sign, man. You spell substance with the S with two lines through it. That's what it really comes down into. It's just a lot of them are loyal to their donor class. And when you start seeing that, it's impossible to unsee it. And that's why you can see like Jeffries or the story that came out that the Democratic Party is looking at adopting a more conservative platform or model for their future elections and seriously considering it. But it's completely ignoring that we have 20 years of case studies and evidence that GOP political model didn't win a popular election. So your goal is to move to a model that numerically won because of things such as gerrymandering and other tactics and never won a popular vote is now going to be your platform. And that platform is closer to the platform of the opposition. So it's like, how are you differentiating yourself? I'm curious. Again, I don't like to blindly just bash and criticize. It's easy to do that. I do want to focus on the credits to the Al Greens, Jasmine Crockett's, Bernie's, AOC's, even to some degree, Hakeem Jeffries, to some degree of leading some.
I'm
trying to be optimistic, man. I'm trying to be optimistic.
I'm not optimistic. Nah, he don't get no credit. AOC didn't do nothing. Like, no, what are we doing? There were three people: Bernie, Jasmine Crockett, and
Green.
Al Green.
Hey, Al
that's
Green.
It. That's where it stops. It's a very short list. They don't have to do a lot. They don't have to do a lot. Like, it's very easy. Like, it's, or I guess not. I can't say it's easy because they can't seem to do anything right. I guess they're sway. They don't have any of the answers.
They don't. But
sway.
Hopefully, some of y'all do.
They're not doing the right thing. They're not passing the test at all.
Hopefully, some of y'all do have the answers. Thank you. Some of us do have the answers for this next segment of our Let 'em Cook segment. It seems that some people are a little bit more fired up. We are missing 24 karat Kenny and all his golden takes, so I guess we'll be stuck with Uriel for now.
3 karat.
Hey man, don't hate on the goat.
He's in the metropolis of Hesperia.
Hey, good for him.
That's my goat.
He got the chain. He got the chain straight from the earth.
Man, you hating, man. He gonna come back with 2 chains. You gotta be real quiet.
He gonna be back with 3 chains, bro.
Man, y'all know he banded up.
Man, he'll come back with 2 green licorice sticks on his neck, just like the one he got right. Kenny, I love you.
Kenny short spoken. He been Frank. Stop playing with my guy. All right, Udio. Yeah. So I guess counting the one who isn't here, who out of all of us would die first in a horror movie?
Personally, because I think it's gonna go with who has the will. Because I don't know, like if I'm saying, y'all ever see that fucking like World War Z and like some of these like super like just fucked worlds? Like at that point, is there a will to live? You know, in some of these horror movies. But I think if we're all doing our best, low-key, I think Dubray might. I think he might be speaking too much sense that like he might get like locked up by the others. Like just man, I gotta be the fastest here. I just gotta be faster than you, and then tripped, and then bam.
Wait,
February has been over for 9 days.
It is. I mean, damn! Like we literally jumped right into the end. Okay, first of all, if it's an apocalypse, all belts are off, dog. Like this is lock-in central. Personally, I think we took the easy answer when Kenny left because he's just gone.
Let's keep it up.
Easy. This is a very easy question when we started. Like this was easy as shit. Honestly, I don't even want to do chat like that. I think we're closer to even than we are. And if you wanted to pick any of us, I'd take it. I'm gonna pick Udio because you picked me because that's just the hater in me. So also like I think the will to live thing is super important if you're in one of these really bad worlds. I think I would just survive off spite. So I think that's why I'd be able to make it. I mean, that's how I've gotten through life, spite. Like obviously I have like love and all the other emotions, but spite is a great motivator. I'll die on that hill.
I've lived through
spite is a great motivator, man. I hear you on that point. I've hit some of my best PRs in the gym off of spite alone, I got a question for you though, Sir Chadwick. So we've been talking a lot about like substance and something that I have kind of seen on the flip side of that is aura, presentation, entertainment. In this era of clickbait and just attention economy, does aura matter more than substance? And with politicians and politics,
aura is substance. That's what people don't understand. They're trying to differentiate the thing. We literally used to call aura just charm or charisma or presidential like salesmanship or things like that. And now, since it's been called aura, people want to minimize it. It's the same idea. It is substance, especially in today's world with AI, all these fake accounts, and all that stuff. People value authenticity. That is not a myth. That's not something that's made up. Marketing, people have been talking about it. We've seen so many celebrities that used to be able to sell out whole movie theaters, not be able to do anything. So now they're hawking out every random DoorDash app and such because they're not selling movie tickets anymore because they're not authentic. People can't see them, relate to them, feel them. The superstars today are streamers and influencers. Why? Because they give off, whether or not it's real or not, authenticity. So aura is substance. People don't necessarily care about those things. Like, even though we're not a fan of certain people or certain celebrities, or we are big fans of certain people or certain celebrities, that marketing, that branding, that aura, to stick with the language, is part of what attracts people to it. And it is inseparable. Using a sports analogy, even though it is not exact, just to give it an example, Jason Tatum is not the face of the NBA. On paper, he should be. He has all the accolades. He's young. He's a family man. No scandals. Does well in interviews. Is winning. Is undeniably one of, if not the best at his position, and undeniably top 10 at the very worst in the league. I think like very strong case for top 5, but top 10 at minimum.
Hot take.
I'm saying he has a case, not saying he is. It's undeniable to say he has a case. Right now. He's not, but that's one person
who also
plays
his position. He's not even the best at his position, and like there's just no argument.
So
like,
2?
I'm
That's
2
crazy.
at best. Like
That's crazy.
I mean,
Wow. The person in the mid-20s off of recent championships, only the second best to the GOAT. Crazy. And he's not the face. Why?
Who's
Because
40?
of aura.
He's
Because
40.
of aura. Because of aura. He's 40.
I mean, he also has no personality. That's
I mean, not
part
40.
of it.
Who cares?
Yeah,
But 40.
yeah.
But
Like,
that's what I'm
Jason has
saying.
zero
Like y'all are
personality.
saying personality and stuff. It's the same for politics and everything else. That aura is the substance. It is what brings people in. It is the authenticity. Is what is the stamp to everything else. That's why a lot of these politicians will lose to pundits or lose to entertainers, because they are really good at connecting to their audience. Somewhere in the last 20 years, I'll shorten it, last 5 to 10 years, people have forgotten, or politicians have forgotten, that their branding and marketing matters. There's a reason Bernie exploded. He directly messaged to the people in an authentic way. So they didn't really care if he was older and rambled sometimes, because he was speaking directly to them, their needs, and he gave it a feeling of authenticity, his aura, that is substance.
I would push back a little. Oh, sorry. Go for it, Jabir.
No. I mean, like, really, if you want to, I guess aura, I think sometimes becomes too much of an all-encompassing term. I think there are times where we consider things aura that are just what? Like, I mean, like, because really what you're talking about is populism, right? I mean, the ability to garner a large amount of people. Like, that's like literally what Trump is. He's a populist. That's literally what Biden ran on being in 2020. He was far more of a populist candidate than we saw in 2016 and we saw in 2024. That's kind of what you're getting. I get your point. And I think there are a lot more people that if they just ran that style of messaging and talking to people, they'd be a lot better than what they are. So I think it's part strategy, and in part it's innate, having the ability to like get up and talk to people and be able to garner the masses with your voice and how you go about things. But also it's just straight up being a populist. Like Obama was a very, very like a blatant populist. That is why Yes We Can was so popular. All of this stuff, the aura,
Hope.
right? Hope. And also he also ruined the politics of hope, because he didn't deliver on very much any of it in his 8 years in office. But so I
want to hear more on that.
We could talk more about that. But literally, like the first thing he did when he got into office, bail out the banks after the housing crisis, and didn't really do anything to bail. He bailed out the banks, not the American people. And then we've never recovered as a housing structure or environment here in this country since. Like in California, the amount of permitting, which is not how many houses are built, it's how many houses are approved to be built, has not even gotten close to the amount of permits that we were doing pre-2008 housing crisis. So but again, it's the same thing, right? I mean, he came in and said, yes, we can. And when he left office, and all the poor whites across the rural parts of the country that had voted for Obama overwhelmingly, all voted for Trump because they felt they had been left behind, because he hadn't done enough to really change the material conditions of everyday people. And again, like if you go back and you look at these places, right, there's a rural county in some buttfuck nowhere in a purple state that had voted Democrat 100 years. They only voted for Trump. Oh, they voted for Obama by like 15 points, if not more. Then they flipped completely to Trump, because again, populism. That's the thing, right? They flipped. That's what politicians need to. That's the approach. Bernie's a populist. That's why he's so popular. People believe in what he's saying. He also has substance, right? He can talk about the issues. He knows the answers. But again, until Democrats are going to commit to an actual real populist, because Biden was not a real populist, but he at least took elements of populism into his 2020 campaign, making the rich pay their fair share, all those types of things. That's why he won. He didn't win because just, oh, Trump's bad. It's, I'm going to actually improve your material conditions. He did that the first 2 years. And then when it wasn't working the way he needed to, he went back to austerity politics of just, we're going to maintain the status quo, and we're going to now flip on immigration. We're going to flip on all the issues that we had actually been holding strong on for decades. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but that's why we find ourselves in the world we're in. Democrats 3 years ago, they would say we're going to tear that racist border wall down. Democrats last year, we're building the border wall too. We hate immigrants just as much, but we're not racially hating immigrants. We just hate immigrants because we don't like them, because they make everything else in the country bad. Within 3 years.
Yeah.
That's some aura right
agree.
There. I don't know. Some I hate everybody aura right there.
But I think you have a point on that, right? Because like as long as, especially like in the last 40 to 50 years, like it can go back all the way to Reagan. He was a movie star. Schwarzenegger, governor of California, also a movie star. Trump, super big in pop culture and media, right?
I don't believe I'm an atheist, but Reagan is the devil.
But what I'm trying to say is entertainment and having succinct talking points that just resonate with people. I think that is obviously essential to having a successful campaign. But like what you say is important. Like that's just like how you say it, but like what you say is super key. And I think that's where Dems have been very lacking, quite frankly. Like the Republicans are really good at catchphrases, man. Make America great again, real catchy. Build that wall. Like they're just very memorable, as opposed to the Dems that are going to bore you to death with like a 200-page report from the Department of Social Services about how like that exactly.
I mean,
so just need taglines, buzz lines. We just need buzzwords, man. I'm all for it. Healthcare, free everything, free everybody.
Free healthcare. Let's go.
Free ASAP. Free healthcare, paid family leave, addressing like taxing billionaires. Those are buzzwords that people like. But we're gonna increase. We're gonna invest in housing. We're gonna build more housing. We're gonna put more money in people's pockets. We're gonna get rid of poverty, and by getting rid of poverty, we'll be able to combat crime at a rate we've never been able to do before. Like those are things that are easy.
Stars, man.
Yeah,
easy because if you give people solutions. Instead of just like, because the Republicans just point out problems and say by addressing this issue or fixing this bad thing, we'll fix everything else. Just do the same thing, but actually give real reasons that actually work. Oh, we want to fight crime. Let's end poverty.
What did Tupac say? They got a war on drugs and a war on poverty, so the police can bother me. Rest in peace to a legend, because that was what 90s and it still resonates today. That's a problem, man. That is a problem. Should not be able to play Tupac changes and point to today's world and find similarities. A whole generation ago. But these are times where we gotta look bigger than ourselves. I know Debray is maybe a little afraid of doing so, thinking that the world is bigger than what they find in books and reasoning. But some of us put our faith in the stars. So I guess to y'all, it's like astrology. Is it real? If so, like, what are your signs? Like, your big three? I don't know. I'm just curious, just like y'all.
It's broad daylight, brother. Anything, it's broad daylight. We can see you out here.
Just curious. Just lobbing that out there in case just.
I feel like you have. I want Iguodala. Yeah, personally. It's like everyone's got their thing that just kind of helps them cope with the world. It's just fun to connect with people. It's like, sure, you're a Taurus or whatever. Like, I don't find any value in it. But like, people put substance.
Thing to
say. You know what I believe in? Class consciousness.
There you go.
I care about
That's
mutual
crazy.
Aid.
Yeah.
What month were you born?
The same thing. Huh?
What's your sign again?
August.
I think we all know what that one is.
Yeah.
Typical.
Right. I mean, I don't buy into it at all. I think it's funny because like it's just like I've had it's the meme, right? Of like, oh, I'm this, and this. And then you don't tell them your birthday and they assume what sign you are, and it's obviously wrong. And you say, yeah.
So are you not a Leo?
I am.
That's a very Leo thing to say. That's a very Leo thing to say.
Bro is out here just talking. All right. Bold as hell. Hey, I don't believe in anything like that. And here's me proving your entire point.
No, I mean, like, I've had people that have this same type of conversation about this.
I knew you were a Leo, bro. That's why I just said that smart ass comment about August.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, y'all know what my birthday is. That's cheating.
Bro.
Both of you know what my birthday is.
Bro, I think this falls in the same vein as like the Myers-Briggs, where they're like, tell me, what are you? An introvert, extrovert, ENTP,
whatever. Being real? Why are y'all so afraid of it being even slightly real?
you could have real conversations with people and know what they actually stand on. Like, just because some random configurations of floating balls of fire in the space does not dictate how I operate my life.
We're gonna walk you down this. You ready? Y'all understand epigenetics. You already understand that things before you could affect you. Things like your great-grandparents' habits, whether or not your great-great-grandparent was a smoker, could affect you. The lights on when you're a kid could affect you. So many things can affect what genetic triggers turn on and off. And you don't think the time of the year you were born, the pollens you were around, the animals you were around would affect it too?
Okay,
I don't know, man.
let's move on.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. I know this ain't nothing either. But I guess another question is probably back to you.
Think
Uriel.
bigger.
Yeah, that's thinking bigger. Our identity politics dead. Discuss.
Well, considering he doesn't
Something-
identify with his astrological sign.
I identify as a hater. Next question.
I think there is something to be said about superficial window dressing, about just trying to cater for people for checking off a box for like which you identify or whatever demographic you are without giving the substance behind it, right? So like personally for me, it's like I recognize that colonialism has had like huge impacts on communities, right? In particular natives. And I hear land acknowledgements all the time in certain spaces. That's good to acknowledge, but at what point are you going to do something to actually help with the health epidemics that are, ravaging through indigenous communities, or addressing the lack of healthcare? There's just like very substantive items that are not addressed. Like I know there's so much litigation over lack of safe drinking water on reservations, right? Like what good does trying to acknowledge and just trying to pander based off identity matter when you're not going to actually help me with the biggest worries that I have day to day, right? So I wouldn't say that they're dead, because it's good to keep those communities in mind. But what I think is dead from the masses is just sticking to that, right? At a certain point, you have to stop talking about how you identify and how we should talk about people and talk about things, and you need to do the solution. You need to work, pull up your sleeves, and get to helping folks.
Part of it for me, or I guess Chad, if you had something, part of it for me is like, I don't care if you're a black politician, if you're not like dedicated to actually helping black people. We had Obama in office for 8 years, and Flint, Michigan still didn't have clean drinking water.
Still doesn't.
Like still to this day, it don't have clean drinking water. And then we had a black woman running for president who literally was on record, on camera, laughing when was asked, "What are you going to do to specifically help black people?" Like, and I get it. There's a thing of like you need to talk about helping everybody, but in a specific question, in a specific moment, and you have nothing. And then when we look at her plan for how to help for targeting black men, the most recent election, it was crypto, it was weed, and it was child support. Real indicative.
She also sent those out way too late. She came out the gate running with that.
Yeah, like this was like within a month of the election being over. But
yeah, I didn't see the cannabis until like the week prior to the election.
It was like right around voting time. If you had done early voting, you didn't even get the information about that by then.
Literally, all those ballot packets are already printed. They're already probably in the trash.
People already done voted. But it's the thing like, I don't smoke weed. I don't trade. I don't do crypto because I don't believe in fake things, and I don't have any kids. So what?
Dude, you're just anti-fun. What do you do?
Right. What? No crypto, no kids.
I play video games. I cook. I bake. I do all the stuff. How about
bake?
How about expunging criminal records for non-violent crimes?
Bro, is really
that's something that helps black men. But what do we do? Like, do you talk about crypto, child support, weed, all none of that? How about actually improve people's quality of life? How about investing in black communities? How about that type of stuff? That could be fun. That could be just a crazy idea. Do something that actually helps people, not like addresses. Yeah, like just so wacky, so crazy. Actually help people.
It is kind of crazy when you think about it, because it's like when you really think about it, though, if you had crypto, do you really need the other stuff to break?
Would you be saying this if you had 2 million in Bitcoin?
Thank you. If you really think about it,
it's about me. It's about the people.
You see, that's the
I
thing right
agree.
there. That's the thing right there.
It's never.
Let
just
me
been
walk you
about
down.
me.
I know you don't have kids, but imagine if you did. That child support stuff would sound real cool, wouldn't it?
Child support is inherently predatory, but she's not actually addressing that part. She's just saying we'll forgive the debt and keep it a predatory system. So how about we actually fix the root of the problem? She said, like,
See, that's the
let's
thing. You trying to get to the roots of things. That's that baker coming out of you. That's that chef
yeah.
mentality coming out of you. Trying to get to the roots.
You got if you want to actually fix your fucked up cookies, you need to figure out what you're doing wrong.
He said he got to change the recipe.
Exactly. That's what we're doing.
Do we want to do
recipes?
Well, when you really think about it, you know, when we look at media portrayals, you know, typically there's a good side and a bad side, but sometimes they miss the mark with that, you know? So, this is an open-ended question for either of y'all. You know, from a piece of media, whether it be a book, a movie, a show, who was actually right and they were not the villain? So you could take this anyway. You could be Killmonger in Black Panther. Yeah, the person that was portrayed as the villain, right? So like Killmonger in Black Panther, Eren Yeager in AOT, Doflamingo in One Piece, you know?
The easiest one, and I'll just keep it short. I don't know how much y'all watch it. Would be I forget their name right now, but the villain in Wizards of Waverly Place was completely right. Like their entire goal was that the rule of I mean, you're laughing, but like really think about Wizards of Waverly Place.
This is a deep cut. Yeah. Who is this?
Oh my god, I forget their name. I'm so mad. I'm gonna can one of y'all look up their name real quick while I do remember all the beats. But Wizards of Waverly Place, they were right. Like their entire thing where they were a villain because they kept on popping up and fighting people was, I don't remember them. Maybe I'm wrong. Like actively killing
the black guy.
I remember their goal. I want to say they were a girl, or it might have been the black dude too.
It's a black woman. Yeah, Cilius,
yeah, it wasn't. There was
Aviliani. I'm bad.
Yeah, that sounds familiar because it was like their whole thing was like, oh, they pop up, they use magic, they're fighting people. But it's like they were fighting the wizarding system rule of only one wizard in the family keeps their powers. And there's no explanation in the entire series as to why. Like, all you know is that it leads to families fighting each other. It implies that siblings have in the past or in other families murdered each other to be the last sibling to keep their powers. It gets like they imply some dark things in it. And the entire thing the villain wanted was to topple the system, just not even the entire system, just that one rule. And because they wanted to change that one rule, it led to the entire system being like, no, for some unexplained reason, our entire world is built around one person keeping their powers for no reason. Blah, blah, blah. The whole thing happens. The main characters fight them. They also make a point to not like go out their way, even though they are a more powerful wizard, to kill or permanently disfigure other people, even though the people stopping them are actively trying to kill her because she's actively trying to recruit people to their cause. And at the end, they were fucking right. At the end of the series, more wizards keep their powers. So what was the point of making them the villain? So I would say that would be my deep cut of just like, they were just bad because they were, I guess, on the other side, but not once do they question why. Because you fought the villain in the series of Wizards of Waverly Place ends on the three siblings fighting each other to keep their powers. And one of them deciding to sacrifice their powers through some loophole. And everyone in the family keeps their powers except one, which was like, what was the whole point of fighting the villain? Because the villain wanted all of you to have your powers, and the story ends with only two of you having your powers. So what was the point?
I mean, I think sometimes we're like the villain, where series don't do a good job of actually like showing why a villain is a villain. Like King Killmonger in Black Panther. Like if you watch the movie, you're just like, yeah. So the United States government and the former government, the former leader of like the Wakanda, were bad people. They just did evil stuff, and like. Obviously, he's a murderer and he's a product of his environment. He's all these things. But like what he's trying to do is saying like, if we live in a world where there is no such thing as true peace, there is no such thing as people being able to live cooperatively and peacefully together, then I just want my group to be on top because you've kind of eliminated the possibility of peace. And even in the aftermath, and in like Black Panther, right? He dies and he says, I want to be buried in the ocean for all those that refuse to live in bondage. The point, and then Black Panther 2 shows the exact same thing. There is no possibility of peace. The United States government doesn't stop and leave Wakanda alone to be able to exist on itself. It literally goes back and doing the exact same thing that Killmonger was going to do then. So like, you don't showcase that there is another answer. There is no positive. There is no like kumbaya moment. I think a lot of stories kill off like the socialist. They kill off the person saying the black nationalist or whatever, even if they're wrong. You don't actually show why they're wrong. You don't give a counter example. You don't give a real answer. So you're just expected to go along with the capitalist, the imperialism, all the things. You're expected to go along with that because they always have to win in the end.
That's because you did it the right
status
way,
quo
Dubray.
always wins. That's why Wizards of Waverly Place, the villain is quote unquote bad, just because they're supposed to stick with the status quo.
Because of plot.
Just because.
It's because you did it the wrong way, Dubray. You didn't submit your grant application to start the nonprofit in the Bay Area like the Black Panther movie ended.
Yeah, I mean the Black Panther Party, like there's no they're the good guys. That's it. They're the best socialist movement we had in the history of this country. They were the good guys, and the United States government murdered them, murdered all their leaders.
Hey man, Meals on Wheels, very dangerous.
Yeah, feeding
what happened
poor
if people ate.
Crazy, terrifying. People being armed, people being able to exercise the Second Amendment right while also being black, dangerous.
Can't have both, man.
That's how California enacted gun control.
3/5 plus Second Amendment equals 5/5. That's 1. Can't have.
Hey,
can't have that, man.
That's math. Republicans
Quick
can't
maths.
do that.
Quick maths.
And them can't do it either. They're too busy podcasting with white supremacists to do the math.
Yeah, that was wild. That's another one.
Yeah, we can discuss the shortcomings of that parenthood in another segment.
Considering all the interesting back and forth, I'd like to wrap up on a positive note. We'll just go around round robin style. Just say a nice memory you have of someone else. Here.
You know who you asking that? Dubray gonna be like, I'm a certified hater. My favorite memory is when you left.
I'll start.
Jesus Christ.
I'll start with one of us has to be positive and optimistic over here being negative.
Hey,
I'll
negative
start.
Is reality.
I'll start. With Uriel, I remember one of the first times we moved to Sacramento. We ended up on the same team for a team building project.
Yeah.
We got stuck kayaking, and he was like, "Oh, I've never done kayaking." I was like, "Bro, I've done kayaking a few times. Whitewater rafting, we're good. Like, just let me do it." But of course, it's blind. So Uriel and I, we had only known each other for like maybe a day or two, and most of it was just over like, "Oh my God, you're from the Central Valley too. Oh my gosh, da 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 da," and just like bonding over that. And so we're in the middle of the water. I'm like, "All right, bro, you just gotta tell me where to go." First thing he says is, "All right, do you know your left versus your right?" I was like, "What do you think our education was in the Central Valley?" So we're like blind kayaking. I'm smacking the water. So I'm doing a good job. I'm moving around and I'm like not hearing too many notes. I'm thinking I'm going good. And then like a few minutes later, I'm like, "Bro, you're going to have to move. We're going to hit this wall." I was like, "I can't see." What do you mean you gotta move? You have to tell me where to go. Because when you got quiet, I just kept on going forward because I was like, "Okay, cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong." And bro was like, "You're just gonna go straight into the walls?" Like, "Oh, you didn't know I couldn't like see anything?"
It was from a plot, man. It was way more interesting. Like, what is this? Us peacefully just navigating, avoiding the boats of the walls. It's like, hey, let's have some fun with this.
It was a race. We were trying to win. That being said, it was fun. Our team won. It was a great time. And yeah, that's probably my good Uriel memory. So, Uriel, I guess your turn next for Dubray or myself.
Yeah. I mean, contrary to popular belief, I would say we're very positive individuals. I'm very fond of all of y'all, actually. I personally would say recently that we had a few weeks ago when I went up to SAC, I literally just hit y'all up. I was like, "Well, what's up? I'm in town. I'm up here for a work project." And we literally just pulled up to the park and we're just like, yeah, we're like running twos, playing some basketball. I mean, we had like knockoff Draymond Green in the flesh, in like all four of us. No one can make a bucket.
I hit the side of the backboard, bro. I had to bench myself. Bro, we were running twos. I benched myself. It was bad.
Bro, that was crazy. But like the way my stomach started hurting from laughing so much, shooting the shit, having fun, and moments like that. It doesn't have to be deep, but just the community with y'all, and great memories. So,
personally, I'll go again. I think positive is subjective. I think my favorite story of me and Udiel was, I mean, I could probably share one for both of y'all. But my favorite story of me and Udiel is when we were just completely roasting one of our mutual friends, and we were doing this for about 4 hours straight. It was a really long night for that dude. We love him. He's a good dude. Shout out to him. He knows who he is. But we were on this man's ass like back pockets for like 4 hours.
So be Rama.
We were on his ass like back pockets for at least 4 hours. Like we took a lunch break. Me and Udio went to get food and got a particular type of food to continue the roast when we got back. So that's a great memory. I mean, one of my favorite memories with Chad is when I first met him, because I was like, oh, another black person. Oh, you also.
I was gonna say that one too.
Like, oh, another black person. Oh, you also grew up in a place that don't care about black people. Fuck, we're best friends. Like, it was like the stepbrother shit. Like, you're my boy.
Bro, he was like, I was like, oh yeah, I'm from Lemoyne. He's like, bro, I'm from Bakersfield. I was like, ain't no way.
I can imagine that.
We're in this together, brother.
I can imagine that class with the hands already.
And then we started nonsense.
Come on, man. Like,
and no, the crazy part is that around that time, my lock screen was Vinland Saga, and his was One Piece. So he was like, hold up, cook.
We were like, we skipped like all of the introductory, like, oh, tell me about yourself. It was straight to niggatry and straight to friendship. So like that is
to nonsense. I was like, oh no, oh my god, like they haven't even animated Gear 5. He's like, oh, you already know. I'm already ahead of it. I was like, they haven't even animated it yet. He was like, Vinland Saga. He's like, you must be going through some personal shit.
And Vinland Saga teaches you stuff, man. I just finished it.
Like, Vinland Saga is a personal journey.
That is
a journey, man.
You will become a better man after reading it.
I felt at peace.
I'm still a hater, but I'm a better person. I'm a better person because of Vinland
Saga. It will make you a better man. That is art.
Did.
That is art.
I still have enemies though. I'm not gotten over that part. I still got enemies.
I don't know. Jebediah? I don't know.
Hey, next week. And also when Kenny come back, we got to do stories. Shout out to Kenny. We can't wait to have you back, bro. We miss you. Hopefully having a good time on vacation.
Yeah. The bubbling
metropolis of Hysteria. If anybody shows you this clip, it's AI. It's edited. I will deny it.
All right.
We got a story for y'all next week with Kenny.
Next week with Kenny, we have a wonderful story with y'all. As always, thank you so much for giving us some of your time, of your busy lives and schedules. We are the Loud Minorities Podcast. We record every week. And remember to like, comment, subscribe. And if you have any questions, topics you'd like us to discuss, bring up, all you have to do is just send us a message.
We out.